Yo, this is CG Ruthless Sports. I will be brutally honest and nothing but being brutally honest coming at ya with a live stream. So today will be a special guest by the name of Packman Sports, but unfortunately he should be able to come in at any moment because I left the link. So he doesn't have no connection, so I guess you can just get him through here. So as soon as he comes, I'll start doing the interview for maybe about 45 minutes. So we'll go from here. Oh, there he is. Perfect. Oh, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
What's up with it, man? Quick timing, man. Good timing. Yeah, dude. So, where they can find you at, man?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Where can they find you at social media? I know you probably don't go as big like everybody else.
Right. Social media, yeah. I don't really have any social medias because I only have such a small following. I did have an Instagram, under the name Packman Sports, but I kind of decided to just delete it because I was not going to have very much of a small following. I do have some other personal social medias, Facebook and a personal Instagram account. They're just kind of on private.
Oh, okay. So everything's all low key private, but as far as like everything else, man, what's this? What are you looking forward to this matchup with the Niners and Packers? What's your matchup that you really looking forward to when it comes down to it?
The matchup I have to say is obviously going to be the lines, your offensive line versus the Packers' defensive line, and vice versa. This game is going to come down to the fast, physical. The lines basically here. It's going to be a very, very tough, difficult test for both the lines for the Packers when it comes to having to face that physicality that the 49ers bring to the table.
Yeah, mostly it's based by the trenches, because our defensive line is pretty good, but your offensive line is kind of going to be tested against an actual really good defensive line. So, I mean, you guys are going through a lot of injuries, but what's the update with your tackle? I've heard that you're on to your third tackle.
Yeah, Eldon Jenkins, our normal left guard, has had to fill in for David Bakhtiar, our normal left tackle, and that has been a problem. And, of course, Dave is going to be out until week 7 with the torn ACL that he has come off of last year when he injured it in practice before the playoffs were set to start for the Packers, and then Elton has had to fill in at left tackle, sliding from left guard to left tackle to be able to take in over his spot. And unfortunately, he goes down with an ankle injury, and he was initially listed as doubtful for this game, and now he has been ruled out for the game, and now we are having to go back to either Billy Turner, the right tackle, slide him over to left, or it could be Dennis Kelly, the newcomer. He has been a right tackle for a lot of teams. For whichever team he was playing for, he was a backup swing tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Titans before coming to Green Bay. So it's going to be another makeshift offensive line yet again for this team, and we just so happen to face one of the tougher defensive lines in the game. It's going to be a tough test for this offensive line.
Yeah, it sure is because, man, a lot of the offensive line, it kind of becomes a well-tested because you're all injured at that position. And Nick Bosa, it's like it's happened with this matchup again, and you guys have to be able to block this guy. And then our defensive line, it's going to be really a true test to your offensive line, so that's going to be a really difficult task. But the one thing we might need to watch out for is your running back. Because Aaron Jones, if you guys just give him the ball off the backfield and then he runs it pretty effectively, that's been our issue is the run stopping ability because we haven't been able to stop the run. Right. So it's like if you guys can run the ball really consistently good, that could be an issue for us. Like, what do you think?
That's kind of been a surprise is that your run defense hasn't been very good for the first 2 weeks. It's especially really surprising because the middle of your defensive line has been a little bit dinged up, but you guys still do have DJ Jones, and he's somebody that a whole lot of people don't really recognize and he doesn't get enough praise for what he's able to do. And then you have Javon Kinlaw, who's going to be returning from injury too. I think that's going to help your run defense out immensely. But if the Packers can establish a running game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, that could go a long ways for this Packer offense to be able to get a rhythm going and being able to stay balanced on offense, establish a running game, and that can open up the passing game for Aaron and the wide receivers.
Yeah, if we can stop your running game, it's going to pretty much force Rodgers to throw the ball more, and that's going to be something that we need to do. But then we got to cover Devontae Adams, who's your best receiver, and then you got Randall Cobb, who's coming back, old face, and then you got this rookie Amari Rodgers. I don't know what's the role, like what's going on with him. Like, is he getting some more big expanded roles or not yet?
The way I think how things are going to work with Amari is that he's going to be just going to be slowly developed, I think, and kind of work behind the outside receivers and the current slot receiver, Randall Cobb. He was brought back by the Packers via a trade, trading a 6th-round pick to Houston. I think he's probably going to be slowly developed along. There's a lot of things to like about Amari. I really think that he's going to be able to bring something nice to the table where we can get him some passes, some quick passes to start things out to get his confidence going. And then you can work it from there where you have some kind of ability to get him out in open space, because I think he's really, really great out in the open field to where he can use his speed. He's not very speed. His agility to be able to make some players miss and get some big plays that way. Otherwise, I think he's probably going to be slowly developed along, and it's going to be Devontae, MVS, and Randall Cobb for the Green Bay Packers.
Well, yeah, based by veterans, like you got Cobb, who's been there a while and is familiar with the offense, so it kind of makes sense. But Rodgers has got that big play ability, but he's got that run after the catch ability too, kind of like a Deebo Samuel. So that's kind of like intriguing how you guys picked him in the 3rd round when he had 2nd round grade written all over it. But it's like, man, I'm wondering if you guys are going to use this kid at some point. But you got, like, when you guys let go of, Jamal Williams to the Lions, you guys were expecting A.J. Dillon to be your other back, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think that's why we let Jamal go, is because we had to pick between one of the 2 running backs to sign back. It's either going to be Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams. And that's one of the reasons why we drafted AJ to begin with, is because we were going to have to face that decision later on. We went with Aaron Jones because of his dynamic ability as a pass catcher and a running back, and he can just hit that home run and just go and take right off for a touchdown at any moment. Jamal was more of like an in between the tackles type of running back where he could grind out the tough yards, and that's what A.J. Dillon really is too. It's really kind of he's really the exact same type of back, really. But I think A.J. is a little bit much more of a power back where he can really turn it up and just plow through lines, and that's going to be really important. Probably, I think, will be somewhat of an X factor in this game, is being able to take it up the middle and hit it right through the teeth of the 49ers defensive line.
Oh yeah, that's what he seems like, an old school physical kind of big back, kind of like a Mike Allstott type of body. But man, like, dude, I didn't even think this guy was like a draft pick for you guys to begin with. What was your reaction when you guys got this guy? Was it like too much of a need at the time, or was it just like, what were you guys thinking about it,
I was surprised when the Packers took AJ in the 2nd round. I kind of thought that maybe he could have been taken a round later. I was thinking all the way that we could have probably spent the 2nd round pick on a different need. But then I thought, you know what? I scouted AJ lightly, and I thought there was a lot of things that I really liked about him. I did like that in fact, for a big man, he could run fast. And I thought that, okay, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams are set to be free agents after this season. The Packers want to be able to establish a ground game with the Matt LaFleur system that we have. We want to be able to get that running game going to be able to help out our quarterback. And a running game really is essentially a quarterback's best friend, really. It takes a whole lot of pressure off of him, and it opens up all kinds of different plays you can use for Aaron and the offense. So it came as a...
Yeah, it does, but now that it makes it more good for your team, oh, my bad.
Yeah, it just came as a surprise to me that we were going to take a running back this early. I did look at some running backs possibly later in the later rounds, maybe perhaps the third or the fourth round was probably something that I took into consideration for the Packers, but probably not in the second round. I thought there was some greater needs to fill, like some help at offensive tackle, inside linebacker, and defensive end was another one of those. Wide receiver was definitely highly in consideration as well. And a lot of people, when we didn't take a wide receiver in the second round, everybody flipped and blew their tops off. And I was probably more like disappointed, but I understood because a lot of receivers in that second round of that draft were already off the board. Claypool, Mims, for example.
Well, they were gone, so it seemed like you guys just wanted to go by what was best available, and it kind of made sense. But
Right.
for the Packers' logic, what was your thoughts of Jordan Love, man? Did you really think this was too
Oh
soon
boy.
to do that in some way?
Oh, the pick of J Love. I did a live stream on my channel of that, and you guys can go back and take a look at that on my channel for my reaction. And I had mixed feelings on that. A whole lot of people hated it, understandably. We already have a quarterback here in Green Bay, and he's still got so many years left. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is clearly playing the best out of anybody, and that is why people were really, really angry about it. Understandable. Aaron was obviously, he said he was not pleased with it either. Understandably, and it started just a firestorm of hate towards the front office in drafting Jordan Love when he was not a team that we didn't even need him, and we went along and picked him. My thought was that, okay, we have a quarterback who is 36, 37 years, about to be 37 years old. He's getting a little bit older, and I thought that the team could use the chance to be able to take a quarterback to develop him. If you believe that Jordan is your guy, then I got to say I appreciate Brian Gutekunst and the front office for actually being able to go with their gut. And if they really truly believe that Jordan is their man, then I got to give them that. Even though it was the unpopular decision, it might turn out to be the right one 5 to 10 years down the line. So I'm going to trust the Packers in this and give them the benefit of the doubt at this point.
Well, Rodgers ain't getting any younger, so that's the case. But in today's football, like you have Tom Brady playing at 44 years old. I don't know how long Rodgers is going to play, but it does kind of give you guys the idea, like you guys got to prepare for the possibility that Rodgers ain't going to be around. So I think that Jordan Love does have some potential. Like he's got a good arm, but it's like you got to let this kid play at some point. So I guess you'll see what he's all about. Yeah, as far as the Packers, man, it's like you guys always seem to develop a lot of different talents, and some people kind of like understood before. Remember when you guys had Mike Holmgren, you guys were able to develop quarterbacks and all that behind Favre and all that stuff, and it used to be really kind of like interesting how it was. But now that you guys are going back to that same route, are you kind of just hoping that Jordan Love can at least be that guy at some point? I mean, Rodgers has got maybe about 3 to 4 years in him, maybe.
Oh yeah, I would have to say probably 3 to 4 maybe good years. But yeah, definitely got to hope that Jordan is going to be able to develop into a good starting quarterback. I have pretty good confidence that there's going to be a lot of time for that to happen. It's going to be pretty tough to say that. I'm actually going to address this here by this question by Corey Davis here. Do you think that this is the last year for Aaron Rodgers? And this is something that I was going to go into. I think that this is a very good possibility. This could be the last year for Aaron because you do have such a huge salary cap issue going into next year where the Packers have like over $50 million worth of so much dead money. Well, not dead money. We're going to be over the cap to where this is probably going to force the Packers to trade Aaron. And in fact, if Aaron wants to say that he wants to be out of Green Bay after this season, then the team will mutually part ways. And then I think that the Packers front office will probably give Aaron the chance to choose where he wants to go and give him that way, because Aaron obviously wanted it that much, because he has been pretty outspoken that he wants to be able to have some control over his future. And I can understand that. It seems like that this league is kind of going to the point to where some players, star players in particular, want to be able to have some say what happens in their careers and their how their future holds.
Yeah, Rodgers is just, I think he just wants to at least play for another team that really wants to build around him, like kind of like what Tom Brady's doing right now, where before he didn't have any control of the team like that. Now he does have that in Tampa Bay. So maybe that's what Rodgers is trying to do, like where he can go to a team where he can actually have some saying and stuff, kind of like a LeBron James. But yeah, this is kind of like a question, like, is it his last year? Because this is where he wants to at least play on a good note. And maybe that's probably why he wants to leave Green Bay, because of a lot of the friction between the front office and Aaron Rodgers. It's kind of been like a lot of mix of drama going on, like him and the head coach not going seeing eye to eye and something like that, and then the general manager. It seems like it's kind of hard to repair a relationship when it's kind of been kind of nothing but negative out there. Like, what's your reaction of it? Like, it's kind of like at a point to where maybe you guys got to move on with this situation.
I think the friction was never with the coaching staff. That's something that the media has over twisted, and it's completely wrong. I think the friction with been between Aaron and the front office, and with how the front office has made some decisions with parting ways with other past players. He talked about this in a press conference when he returned for training camp. It was never about the coaches. He has said that he has loved playing with Matt LaFleur. He said he's loved playing with the players. And I believe that's why he decided to ultimately return to the Packers, is because he wanted to play for the coaches. He wanted to play for his friends, the players, and he wanted to play for us, the Packers. I really, truly believe he wants to be here. He's all in, and I believe that he believes in this team. And there's a good chance to be able to win a championship here in Green Bay. I think there's a possibility that he may see some other teams that have some championship potential with some pretty good rosters and everything like that, which is why I think that maybe he probably, with some disagreements with the front office, maybe thought that maybe I could just go play elsewhere and see if I can win a championship somewhere else. But whenever I think about it more thoroughly, that I think the Packers have a great chance to win a championship here with Aaron. And I think that Aaron knows that he has a really good chance because he's been able to build the relationships with the players, with the coaches. And what has to happen is just to be able to make it happen, believe that this team can go all the way and win it.
Well, yeah, but for Aaron Rodgers, he wants all the talent around him. And of course, with Green Bay, he's always been contending that team for years. But it's like, it's kind of at a point to where he maybe is getting tired of playing here and he wants to get a new fresh start, kind of like Tom Brady was. Tom Brady's been doing it great for the Patriots for many years. Same thing with Rodgers. But like you said, I cannot disagree on that part, because anything that Green Bay brings to Aaron Rodgers, he's always made the best out of Green Bay. So if he plays elsewhere, that can be the one question mark. Can he really excel outside of Green Bay? That would be the one question. But like teams like Washington, that's a team that just needs a quarterback, and maybe they might make a legitimate push, but it's not going to be nothing like Green Bay in general.
Washington would make some sense. They have a really good foundation there with a really good defense, starting with a defensive line and everything. I would understand that. I think that Aaron has been pretty outspoken in the past that he wants to be a Packer, and he probably saw that probably at the time. I don't know where he is thinking right now, if he does want to go play anywhere else, or if he really truly wants to remain a Green Bay Packer and be a Packer for life. I'm not quite sure if the whole Brady thing is quite what a lot of what the media is saying. They could be right.
Yeah, I wouldn't know because I just see a lot of this mix up between the front office and all that stuff, and then him throwing his coach under the bus. I don't know if it's true or false. There's just different sides of it. But like you said, the front office seems a lot true because of what the GM's doing. He told the GM, "Hey, give me some receivers, give me some guys to help me around so we can build a culture over here." Yeah, how is it the relationship with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love?
Both Aaron and Jordan have said that their relationship is really good. Now, that's just promising what they're saying publicly. Who knows what things really are behind closed doors, but I really truly believe that Aaron and Jordan are really in a good spot in a relationship because Aaron was put in this spot that Jordan was in right now. Aaron knows what it's like to be that guy that is potentially replacing a legend, replacing Brett Favre. And things did not go so well between Aaron and Brett in his first year when they were there in 2005, where there was a couple of things that were said between Aaron and Brett, and but then things got a little bit better in their relationship. They were able to really to be able to come together and help really create a good situation for Aaron to succeed for Brett when the Packers were eventually going to move on from Brett, whether he was going to retire or go elsewhere. It turns out he wound up going elsewhere. He got traded to the Jets, and then Aaron wound up being the anointed the starter, and that turned out into a frenzy all by itself, where fans like myself were not really happy with the whole Brett drama, and but the Packers were right. They ultimately were right, where uh, it was time to move on and just move on with the young quarterback, and they were right because I think they knew what they had with Aaron. And the unfortunate thing was that I remember this interview with a Packers former executive that the Packers said that Mike McCarthy, the current head coach at the time, was talking with Brett, and he said he told Brett, "We've moved on." And then the former executive, his name is Andrew Brandt. He went on to say that in hindsight, here's what the Packers should have done with Brett in handling the situation was, Brett, if you want to come back, we're going to let you know that we're going to turn the keys over to Aaron. So if you want to come back, then we're probably going to have to trade you. So that may have, in turn, probably would have told Brett that maybe, for the sake of wanting to be a Packer for life, really, that I could probably just remain retired, or he could just say, okay, if you don't want me anymore, then just trade me.
Yeah, that's kind of like what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. It kind of seems like in that way because he's a
Exactly.
legend too, and Jordan Love's just trying to fill in the shoes. But I think the upside with Jordan Love is he does have a strong arm, and it's like, man, I
Mm-hmm.
hate to see this situation, but maybe Green Bay might strike again with another quarterback's situation. Maybe it might be a simple transition because before Brett Favre, you guys were going through losing seasons a long time, and you guys haven't had that success since Bart's start. But then when you guys started getting Brett Favre, and then you started going from Aaron Rodgers, it became a sign of relief for you guys that you guys were still having hopes to be a really good competitive franchise. You guys had the
Yeah.
talent in the world to at least win a couple championships, but it just didn't happen. Like you guys had the best offense. You guys had maybe your defense wasn't as great, but you guys had the ability to at least win some games by shootouts or at least win some blowout games. But it's just like I don't know why. Like Rodgers had a lot of good receivers. He had a really lot of good offensive line too, and it was really much. He could have at least won multiple championships if you agree on that part.
Yeah, I could definitely agree. There was some chances to get a couple of championships, but I think the defenses just were never really there to be able to make it happen. You got to have a whole football team to really win, and I think that's kind of been a really big problem with the Packers recently is being able to build a defense. And I think that's kind of where I think maybe Aaron might feel disappointed in the team is not being able to get that defense to be able to get over the hump and getting past the NFC Championship game to get to the Super Bowl, and much less go and win it and be able to beat other teams with great defenses like the 49ers, like the Seattle Seahawks, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, it's like you guys have struggled against physical teams, and it's like Seattle's physical, San Francisco's physical, Tampa Bay, they're starting to become a physical team too. So it's like, wow, man, it's like, I guess for some reason you guys are a very good team, but if you guys play a physical team, it's like, I don't know why. Well, what happens with this kind of matchup, man? Is it because a lot of your guys are not fully like ready for that physicality a little bit, or what?
I have no idea what it is. I don't know if it's, for some reason, this team just isn't really ever really built to be like a fast physical team like the 49ers are, like Seattle was back in the Legion of Boom days, like Tampa Bay. I don't think that I don't think it's I don't know if it's a coaching issue or anything like that. I think it's just the players. It's kind of it doesn't. I'm trying to think how I could say this. I have no idea why this team is not being built to being a fast physical brand of defense. It seems like it has always been like a finesse type of defense, and I think it really kind of starts with the defensive line, which I think has really been a big issue with this team for a while. But I do think back to a time back in 2010 when the Packers did win the Super Bowl. The Packers were built very well on the defensive line. You had Ryan Pickett, B.J. Raji, Cullen Jenkins. Those guys were physical, especially Cullen Jenkins. Cullen Jenkins was a monster, and he wreaked havoc in the trenches, and that's something that has been missing for the Packers ever since.
Yeah, when you had B.J. Raji and you had guys like Ryan Pickett and those other guys, they were good at stopping the run. And plus, during that playoff time, you guys had some good depth too, especially at linebacker when everybody thought that Nick Barnett was going to be a big loss. You guys had Desmond Bishop and quite a few other contributors, and those guys were playing physical brand of football, and you just don't have that with Green Bay. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like maybe it's just the way the front office is doing their work and the way it's going on. Like they're just being too cheap, and I get it. But here's a question from Corey's question.
What happened in week one was simply this. They were not really quite prepared for what the Saints were going to give them. They were outmatched physically, and the lines were basically dominated. The Saints offensive line has a really great. They have great players. They have a great left tackle. They have a great right tackle in Teron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk. Their interior is good. And I know that they lost Eric McCoy, the center, to an injury, but that didn't matter. Their depth on their offensive line was excellent, and they controlled the Packers' defensive line pretty handily. And then the Saints defensive line did a pretty decent job of holding down and stopping the ground game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. On top of that, Matt LaFleur and everyone, they stopped running the football, and that was a big reason why the Saints were ultimately going to win that game, is because we stopped running the football, and that was a really big issue. So it was kind of like a mixture of being out physical, outmatched in certain areas. The Saints played the type of coverage that has been used to stop the Packer offense, cover two, whether if it's man or zone. Receivers were not really able to separate, get open, except for maybe Devontae Adams. So that was a big part in that too. We couldn't really get a ground game going. We couldn't really throw the ball deep because they took away our deep game. We had to dink and dunk down the field in order to be able to get down to the field and be able to score some points. We weren't able to score points because there were some turnovers on that drive, and that's what ultimately killed the Packers, was all of those phases in there, was being outmatched offensively, defensively, turnovers, and that's what happened in week one. It was just another really bad game by a good football team.
Yeah, and then the weird part about it was the quarterback switch too. Like they went from Winston to Taysom Hill on those kind of plays. Like, do you expect the 49ers to at least do a little bit of Trey Lance in this situation, or you think you don't know what to expect at this point?
I'm actually kind of expecting a little bit of Trey Lance in this game. I think they're probably going to take Jimmy off for a few snaps, maybe, and I think I can see Trey Lance actually get perhaps some read option, and maybe he'll throw a pass. I definitely think that Trey has a lot of potential for you guys in being a really good franchise quarterback. He just needs to have a little bit more time to develop, and you can roll with Jimmy for another year or so, and I think things are going to look really, really great for the 49ers for years to come with Trey as the quarterback. And if you guys keep on building on that great defense of yours, the sky's the limit. And I think a couple Super Bowls could potentially be up there. And if things go pretty poorly and if Aaron gets traded and our cap is decimated, I don't know what could happen to the Packers. We could be in for some seasons where we may see a dip down in performance, and we may have to lose some players as a result. Whereas that's kind of where the trend is going. The Packers could wind up going down after this year, and the 49ers might go up. I really like what you guys have on offense and defense, and the coaching is great. Kyle Shanahan, he's a really great play caller, great play designer. I really like what he can do with that group, and what he's been able to do with Jimmy has been working really well, actually, even though Jimmy has been fairly average, to put it that way.
Oh yeah, Shanahan could just make any quarterback look really good. But in some ways, Jimmy is not exactly like as bad as those other quarterbacks we've had. I mean,
Oh no,
CJ Beathard and Nick Foles are just not that great. But Jimmy, he can be really good if you put him in the right situation. But he just never stayed healthy. He was more like a game manager, kind of like an Alex Smith, if not better, maybe, but just not like the kind of guy that just kept getting injured. But in a way, Jimmy kind of reminds me a little bit of Mark Bolger a little bit because of the fact that he's been
yeah.
injury prone too. And the guy wore number 10, same look, just played on a different division team perspective. But I can see that the talent's very similar. Like they were really good quarterbacks, but never stayed healthy for that extended time.
I remember Mark Bulger quite a bit for the Rams, and he had some really good years for the Rams back in the 2000s. He had some really good receivers to work with too, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt. He had Marshall Falk. And in some ways, the Rams offense is somewhat similar to what the 49ers are running now. They're, then I think the Rams are kind of more like they were more like an air raid type of offense. And the 49ers are kind of like have like a little bit of like a spin-off mixture of the West Coast offense built in with some other different types of concepts. It's a very similar system, which Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur, they all come from the same type of tree, really, which was all built by Mike Shanahan and the West Coast offense, stemming all the way back to Bill Walsh.
Oh yeah, that's where the philosophy is coming from, and that's where Matt LaFleur and even his brother was there too. And then you got Sean McVay and all the other guys, and they're just building that generational offense, very similar to what Bill Walsh ran, but it's going to be more like a Mike Shanahan version, but little mix, mix in between with the wrinkles. Right. You'll see a different kind of skill set plays, like a lot of those jet sweep plays. You see a lot of those happen, a lot of those quick and dink plays and all that. But the thing that Shanahan has yet to do is expand the playbook, and something that Jimmy just can't do, which I think Trey Lance can really bring a lot to the table, but it takes time. Maybe that's where Shanahan will eventually want to play this kid at some point. But as far as the matchup, you guys got a really good cornerback in Jaire Alexander. That would probably be the one guy we probably not want to focus on mostly. But I know Kevin King's a little bit a suspect. And then you got this Eric Stokes guy who I really wanted from Georgia, a really physical type of dog cornerback I wanted from the get-go. But I was like surprised, like, why did the Packers get this guy? You could get him in the second round. I was like, what?
Yeah, I'm glad we got him in the first round. And back to Jaire. Yeah, Jaire is going to be a really good matchup with Deebo Samuel. That's a matchup that I'm really especially looking forward to seeing is how he can match up with Deebo and being able to take him out of the game. But that could in turn leave guys like Brandon Ayuk and Mohamed Sanu to be able to get some matchups between Kevin King or Eric Stokes. When we took him in the first round, I was thinking, good, it's a cornerback because I know that we needed some help with corner. And Kevin King, who was brought back for a 1-year deal, is kind of on a short leash. He's been kind of giving a second chance, and I know a whole lot of people that just absolutely hate Kevin because he does get beat deep sometimes, and that has been a problem, and that's why we brought in Eric. And just in case if Kevin does play poorly, then okay, then we can slowly ease Eric into the mix in order to be able to get him some chances to be able to compete for that second cornerback spot and to play with Jair. If we can get a good number 1 and 2 cornerbacks along with a good nickel, the Packers in the back end are probably just about as good as any team in the league. And that's where I think on the Packer defense is where we have that talent. It's just lacking up in the defensive line and the inside linebacker group. Now, as far as Eric goes, when he was picked, a lot of people hated the pick because they wanted the Packers to pick a wide receiver to be able to get Aaron back. That was very. I think cornerback was probably a little bit of a bigger need. So was the defensive line. Eric Stokes was an overreach as a second round talent. I kind of thought he was a second round talent also. There was just some things in his game where I thought that he could potentially be a very good first rounder. I think some of that was being able to add strength to be able to play in press man coverage. That was some of the things, and there were some other things that needed to be refined in his game where he could use a little bit of time to develop behind a couple of cornerbacks, and then once he's ready, he could be a very good player. And the Packers picked him in the late first, so you're getting you're getting a second round talent, but the Packers were picking so late in the first round that you're not getting much of a huge difference between pick 29 then versus somewhere in the high 30s. That is something I think that is, I think the value could have been better, of course, but at the end of the day, I'm glad we wound up getting him because once Greg Newsome and Caleb Farley were gone, I thought, oh no, the first-round cornerbacks are escaping us. And I thought that, okay, what do we do? Should we trade out of the first round and try to get into the second round to pick up a second-round cornerback like Tyson Campbell, like Eric Stokes? I thought those were probably a possibility, but then when the Packers picked him in the first round, I was like, okay, I like it. It's a good pick, though.
Well, yeah, in some ways, like I liked his tape, even though he did run a crazy 40, but I watched a lot of his tape and it just caught my eye a little bit. The physicality, the way he just gets in coverage, he gets aggressive. I thought when you guys picked this guy, I'm like, man, damn you Packers, man. I wanted this guy. I wanted him to slip in the second round so we can get this guy. But for some reason, I like the pick. He's got that feistiness, like that dog, bro. Like he's not a pushover. But Packers Sport, who do you got winning this game and what is the score?
Of course, I knew this. I knew this was going to be coming. I thought this was going to be coming maybe towards the end of the stream. But I think
we can wait. We can wait. We can wait for like maybe about a little bit more, man. We'll wait on that, Corey. We'll let him answer, but let him get to the more questions. All right. Okay. Yeah, so the next question for you is the next question for you was like, so were you glad to get a guy like Amari Rodgers, even though you could have got some other receivers, or not really?
I did like Amari. I scouted him lightly. There were some things that were a little, I would have to say, not all that great to know. It's kind of because of his height. I think he might be more built to play inside as a slot receiver. I don't really know if there's going to be that much potential for him to be able to play outside because of his height, but he's not exactly like a small guy. He's just a little bit short. But I think he does have a lot of potential to be able to be worked in there for Aaron or Jordan to be a good weapon, even though if he might only just be exclusively a slot receiver. I was kind of hoping more for an outside receiver, like Amon-Ra St. Brown was somebody that I had my eye on in the late second or the late third if he were to drop, because I think St. Brown, Equinemius's younger brother, he had potential as both an outside and a slot receiver. And I know that Matt LaFleur and the guys like to be able to take slot receivers, or like to be able to say take outside receivers and then play him in the slot. And I thought he would have been a pretty good fit. But I really like Amari's dynamic playability in the open field and where he could take it off and he could go and he could run. So I did like Amari, but I didn't like him as much as some of the other receivers.
Okay, so you like that St. Brown guy, the one that went to the Lions, but man, like, dude, I would have thought maybe he could have been drafted a little higher, but I'm surprised Detroit got him in the 4th round.
Yeah.
He might even be their best receiver after the end of the season. So, okay, so Ultimate Report put a good question, which I did like this guy too, also coming out of Florida State, and I was very upset at the fact that when we didn't get the guy, I was mad at the fact the Chargers got him. And I'm like, damn you, Chargers. Wanted this guy.
Yeah.
But we ended up picking a guard. We ended up picking up a guard that looks like Josh Garnett 2.0 at this point.
Yeah,
it's too early to judge, but he's going to be redshirt. I don't know, man. This is just a wasted 2nd-round pick. And I felt like we could have gone at cornerback at that point, but it is what it is. But,
yeah.
So, let's see. What were you going to say? My bad.
I don't want to address this Asante Samuel one. I did like Asante coming out a lot, but he reminds me so much of Jair Alexander. He's a shorter corner to where he's really sort of like that. And he's also a lot like his dad, Asante Sr. I thought that he was somebody that was very highly on my radar to be able to pick him at the end of the 1st round. I would have liked Asante, I would have liked Farley, I would have liked Greg Newsome, and I would have liked Eric or Tyson Campbell, the Georgia cornerbacks. And I think the Chargers got a really good steal there, and I think it's kind of tough to say what would have been right for the Packers in terms of, do you want to be able to have Asante Samuel like 2 Jair Alexanders, or do you like to be able to have a Jair Alexander and somebody that's like a bigger, taller, longer corner that can fly like Eric? So I was kind of thinking like a bigger corner that can play outside, like something like a replacement for Kevin King. And Asante Samuel also had some questions about being able to play outside because of his smaller size. So he might be limited to the nickel role. But that's actually pretty good because the Packers kind of really like to use outside corners, and they like to play them in the nickel. That's the star position that is being implemented in the Joe Barry system. So I think Asante would have worked out pretty well for the Packers. It's just the question of him being able to play outside.
Oh, yeah. So he couldn't play much of the outside. He looked more of a nickel. That's what people were looking at him for. But when you looked at other cornerbacks, like the guy we drafted for Michigan, he seemed like an outside guy, but he opted out for the COVID. But he had the skill set. He had a good trait, but I guess he's just not really ahead of the curve right now. So we got this kid from Oregon, which we got in the 5th round. He's looking like he's getting ahead of the game a little bit. Diamador Lenore, he's playing feisty. He may be undersized, but he's kind of like the light version of Asante Samuel, kind of in a way, the way I look at it. Like he's got some good traits, but I was hoping that Ambry Thomas would have got in and got into some playing time, but it's not the case for some reason.
Lenore is somebody that I've been looking at too for the Packers in the later rounds to be able to get some more depth cornerbacks. We wound up going with Shamar Jean Charles, who is another nickel corner, and I think he's got some potential to be a pretty good nickel corner in the future, waiting to develop. And that's kind of how I see your 49er cornerbacks. They're very much depth guys that could potentially be good starters down the line, like Lenore and like Ambry Thomas, the Michigan guy. They're off to a little bit of slowish starts, especially Ambry Thomas, but I think they're going to pick it up once the game slows down for them and once they get a little bit more experience.
Yeah, but Lenore's kind of catching on to speed a little bit than Ivory at
Yeah,
this point. Like he's already he's
he's off to a good start, and I think he's he's got the most potential.
Yeah, the only thing about him is the hip movements and all that other stuff. But I think he's actually been working on his coverage skills. He's been showing some savvy moves where the Eagles receiver that was got for a touchdown, it kind of got negated because he was smart enough to just put his foot out of bounds, which was kind of like a crazy savvy move. Like most veterans would do that, but he played like he was a veteran right there. So he had about 5 tackles, 3 pass deflects. He was able to make some key plays here and there. I like him a lot better at this point. But Ivory Thomas, there's some physicality traits that's really good about this guy, but he's still got to develop. So I don't know why he's kind of a little behind Lenore. It's kind of shocking. You get this guy in the 3rd round, hoping that he could be a stud, but then you got this guy in the 5th round who could have easily been maybe a 3rd or 4th round grade. But still, it's surprising how this guy's ended up being better than him at this point.
Yeah, I thought that Ambry Thomas was kind of like a day 3 grade from when I was looking up from all the different types of scouting reports. I was hoping for Ambry Thomas in the 4th or 5th rounds for the Packers. I really don't remember too much of what I looked up on him, but I thought he was had some pretty decent potential for whichever team he was going to go to. How about Emmanuel Mosley? How about him? How are some of your other cornerbacks? How are they doing so far? I know that Emmanuel is coming off an injury and he's probably going to play, right?
Yeah, he's supposed to be expected to play. Barrett's out for the year. The cornerbacks we got right now is Josh Norman. We got Drake Kirkpatrick, Diamado Lenore, and Ivory Thomas. Those are the guys we got on our depth right now. But and then we got Dante Johnson, which I don't know why he's even still on the roster for some reason, but it's that's all we got at cornerback. So it's Mosley's supposed to expect to play this week, more than likely, because he just missed the first 2 games of the season. So maybe this game will pretty much be the best time for him to come back in this game, especially at a home game against the Green Bay team. Maybe he'll match up with Devontae Adams or Randall Cobb or whoever you guys are playing out there.
Right. Yeah, I thought the pickup of Josh Norman was a pretty good one, and then I think he's probably going to be seeing quite a bit of time, and I think he'll probably most likely be on. I don't know. Josh Norman isn't quite as good as he used to be. I don't know if he can still quite run as fast as he used to. I don't think he was ever really particularly a fast cornerback. I think I'd probably expect to see him on maybe the outside, maybe perhaps covering Alan Lazard. It really sucks that you guys lost Verrett. He was arguably your best cornerback. But of course, there's also some talk about you guys getting Richard Sherman back. And that would have been pretty interesting if you guys had snagged him right up before this game to be able to combat your injury problems at the corner. And then I think I'm going to answer Corey's question here. I think the player that I'm worried most on the 49ers defense is probably either Bosa or Fred Warner. Those guys are just really tremendous players. And then there's also, if Armstead is going to play, I'm worried about Eric Armstead going up against Dennis Kelly if he's going to play right tackle. And then there's also D Ford. He's also in the mix too. He's a really dangerous pass rusher as well. So I think just about almost anybody on your defensive line and, Fred Warner, those guys are also going to be some pretty key players for tomorrow night's game.
Yeah, the one that concerns me more about your Packers, of course, is Aaron Rodgers. When he plays at his best, that's when you guys are really good. But on defense, the one guy that concerns me more on defense is Jair Alexander. I think he's just one of the best shutdown corners. It doesn't matter what kind of receiver you got; he'll limit you to 60 yards or less, and he does his job right. But defensive line, like if you guys would have had Zadarius Smith, I think he would have gave us a little bit of problems. But since he's not
Yep.
going to play, that's going to be like a question mark right there. So do you think Aaron will utilize quick passes to get around the pass rush?
I think we will have to. I really, really hope that we're going to get the quick throws going, get some quick passes, some underneath to our running backs, some underneath to tight ends, some quick outs to Devontae, quick outs to Marquez, quick outs to Randall, just to be able to get anything to and get anything to work, especially if the 49ers are going to play cover two, especially if they're going to be in cover two zone, that's going to present a little bit of a problem. But I really would like to think that it would have to be establish the running game first and then use some quick passes when you get into like third and shorts. That would be very helpful. And if we get into third and longs, I think we're in major trouble because all your defensive linemen can just tee right off and just go and get them.
Yeah, that's what it is right now. But Trey Sherman, I think he's going to be our starting back against you guys. Then we have Kerryon Johnson. Then we have Jaquiz Patrick. Those are physical type backs. They're not your speedy backs, but how do you think you're going to fare against that kind of running back group right there? Because, I mean, they're not the fast backs. They're more like the physical backs.
Trey was somebody that I kind of liked for the Packers in the draft, and I think this is a really good chance for him to be able to shine here with him playing behind Raheem Mostert, who unfortunately you guys lost to an injury, and that really sucks. And then more running backs went down, Hasty, Elijah Mitchell. I'm just kind of glad that there's a little bit of a break for us because we lost Z. He's very much going to be very neat. He's going to be sorely missed, being able to help in both the pass rush and the run game. But I am confident in Preston and Rashawn Gary to be able to do enough to be able to help this team on defense. And then Kenny Clark, our nose tackle, those are arguably our most important players to be able to play on the defensive line. And for our outside linebacking group, we're going to have to be able to do whatever it takes to be able to try to limit the running game with Trey Sermon and with Kerryon Johnson that you guys brought back right up from practice squad. Johnson is a former Detroit Lion that we saw from time to time. He was able to do a pretty decent job in the ground game whenever he was with Detroit. I expect him to be work into the mix, but it's going to be a lot of Trey Sermon, and I think there's a couple other running backs that you guys have too that could potentially be used in the game, like Trent Cannon, Jaquiz Patrick too. It doesn't really matter. Kyle Shanahan can take any running back, and he can look really good.
Yeah, I guess you could be a running back, and he'll make you look like a star out there, just like everybody else. But yeah, all right, we're getting close to the hour mark, man. So let's get to that final question here, man. What's your prediction score?
Before season, why did Aaron Jones have problems with the run game against the Saints? I'm assuming that's what the question is about. It's in the Saints game. I think it's the fact that the run blocking was pretty poor, where the Saints the defensive line just was able to shut down the running game, and then the play calling was all for the passing game, and there was so much weight put on Aaron's shoulders to throw the football, and we just quit running the football, and that's why things went down like that. And then Aaron Jones bouncing back in week 2 obviously had a really good game against the Lions because we went to the running game early, stuck with it. And that's what was the difference between the two games. And now to my prediction for the score. I'm going to go with... I'm really hoping this is not going to be a blowout again because it has a whole lot of potential to be a blowout. I'll go the San Francisco 49ers 31 and Green Bay 17. 31-17.
So you really don't see it much of a close game, is the way you look at it. Like, I mean, it's kind of like I've seen how some people would think, but it's anybody's ball game. If you guys can block against us really good, then it's possible. But
Yeah.
I like, most Packer fans. I've asked this question, included in one of my close friends who is a Green Bay fan too, and he even said, "I don't know, man. If we can't show up against the Niners, it could be a long day." And I'm like saying, "Damn,
Right.
bro, you're losing confidence in your team
Right.
already." But I can understand that. But I see it more of a close game. So if I had to
That's
go
what I'm
by
hoping
prediction,
for.
yeah, I can see more of a close game. Maybe it'll come down to a field goal. But realistically, I see it more like the Niners 31, Packers 28. It can come down to the wire. I think it's going to be the game of the week. So that's the way I look at it. Maybe it might be ugly,
Sure.
like you just said. Maybe it's possible, but it's either way. But how do you compare? How do you rate the cheese in Wisconsin compared to the other states?
That's a pretty good question. To be honest, I really think that Wisconsin cheese is at the top of the line. I like cheese. I eat a pretty decent amount. I mostly eat the same type of cheese. I usually eat mozzarella, some classic cheddar. I really don't know if there's too much of a difference or anything like that. But I'd have to say that, with Wisconsin being the dairy state, I think it's probably at the top of the line. But at the top of the line of the United States. I mean, some states don't really do much dairy, and there's some states that do.
Yeah, I mean, but then you see California do it too. But I think from what I'm hearing, Wisconsin does the better dairy. So I don't know if that's the truth, but I guess that's what's going on. But
I don't
in
know
all
if it's really the
perspectively,
truth
man,
either.
yeah, I guess the dairies are a little different out there. But in all perspectively, man, I appreciate you on the show. Maybe next time in the near future, if it comes down to maybe when we play in the playoffs, maybe or whatever the season recaps over, we could definitely collaborate again. But anybody else who hasn't checked out Packman Sports Channel, man, go check this guy out, man. He's speaking it like it is, man. Like I like to thank this guy for coming into the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, bro. So me and Pac-Man are gonna call it a day. Hey, let the best team win is all I look at, man.
Yeah.
All right, bro. See you later, man.
See ya.